Hi, everybody. My name is Casey. Welcome to my channel to those of you who are new, and welcome back to those who have been here before. So, as you know, if you've seen my content before, I love talking about the Great American Songbook and the Great Forgotten Songbook. But who are some of the key players? Today, let's talk about the composer Jerome Kern. As we dive into Kern's work, it is important to recognize the significance of his contributions, not just to musical theater of the time, but the impact on today as well. Think about it this way. Without Jerome Kern, we wouldn't have the Disney movie musicals we know and love today. Let's dive in. Jerome David Kern was born on January 27, 1885, and died on November 11, 1945. Kern was best known for his landmark musical, Showboat, with Oscar Hammerstein II, that really marked the beginning of a gradual change in how music was treated within the scope of musical theater, with music suddenly progressing the narrative rather than simply appearing in the show. He was born to Henry Kern, a Jewish-German immigrant who worked as a merchandiser, and Fanny Kern, who was an American-born woman of Bohemian descent. Ultimately, Jerome Kern attended Newark High School in Newark, New Jersey. During his time there, he actively participated in school musical activities and honed his skills as a pianist and composer. Kern's talent for music was evident even in high school, where he began composing music for the school's performances and developing an interest in musical theater. One of his first known productions was for his school's first musical. Unfortunately, a minstrel show. So, a minstrel show was a form of American entertainment that began in the early 19th century, characterized by white performers in blackface makeup who characterized African Americans through exaggerated and derogatory stereotypes. These shows featured a combination of skits, songs, and dances that perpetuated racist imagery and reinforced harmful stereotypes. They were incredibly popular in their time, but minstrel shows are now widely condemned for their racist content and significant role in promoting racial discrimination and prejudice. Although disappointing that Jerome Kern participated in writing such a show, it is important to keep in mind that this was fairly common for composers at the time, especially in their early careers, due to the genre's extreme popularity. The following year, in 1902, Kern followed up his problematic origins by writing a musical adaptation of Uncle Tom's Cabin, which was an anti-slavery novel that was credited with helping to lay the groundwork for the Civil War, but unfortunately, most adaptations of Uncle Tom's Cabin strayed from its roots and instead served to reinforce and popularize negative stereotypes of Black individuals. Kern's adaptation was no exception. His show served as a satire of the original book and perpetuated harmful stereotypes of the Black community. While not widely known or as influential as his other works, Uncle Tom's Cabin, a musical burlesque, reflects the complex and often problematic ways in which early 20th century American entertainment really engaged with race and societal issues. After completing his schooling, Kern did ultimately begin working in New York City's Tin Pan Alley, which was a hub for songwriters and music publishers. This experience allowed him to develop his songwriting skills and gain experience in the music industry. One of Kern's earliest published songs was At the Casino in 1902, written while he was still in his late teens. It marked the beginning of his professional career in music. Then in 1912, Kern had The Red Petticoat, which was his first complete score for a Broadway musical. It was a Western themed show that allowed him to demonstrate his ability to write cohesive and engaging music for the stage. Kern's collaborations with librettist Guy Bolton and lyricist P.G. Wodehouse on the Princess Theater productions from 1915 through 1918 were pivotal. These shows, such as Very Good Eddie in 1915 and Oh Boy from 1917, integrated songs more seamlessly into the narrative than previous musicals had done and set a new standard for musical theater. It cannot be overstated how pivotal Kern's work at the Princess Theater was. The smaller venue allowed Kern the liberty to make major strides in innovation to the format of shows of the time, starting with seamless integration of music into the story. Now, Gilbert and Sullivan before him pretty much stuck to operas and operettas, but Kern's shows, such as Very Good Eddie and Oh Boy, marked the first notable departure from the typical format of musical revues and variety shows into musical theater specifically. He integrated songs more seamlessly into the narrative of shows, ensuring that musical numbers truly advanced the plot and developed characters, rather than serving as mere entertainment interludes. The songs in Kern's musicals were also designed to reflect the personalities, emotions, and circumstances of the characters, really enhancing the storytelling and emotional impact of the shows. The new integration of the songs into the narrative and the character-driven nature of the work really set the stage for what musical theater became. Without Kern's initial steps to integrate the music into the shows and into the narrative rather than having them feel almost as a separate entity, allowed future composers like Rodgers and Hammerstein to rise to prominence in later decades. These initial steps really started the path towards an eventual revolution in what musical theater became and laid the foundation for many things popular today, like the Disney movie musical. Ultimately, nothing lasts forever, and Kern eventually moved on from the Princess Theater. Part of this was due to the nature of the theater itself. It was very small and a very intimate venue with limited seating capacity. This meant it was perfect for the light, character-driven comedies Kern produced there, but it also limited the financial potential and scope of the productions. There were also changing tastes at the time. As musical theater evolved, audiences and producers became more and more interested in larger, more elaborate productions, and those were better suited to larger theaters than the Princess Theater was. It could also generate much higher revenues, straight up. Kern also sought to expand his creative horizons beyond the intimate confines of the Princess Theater. He wanted to create works with a greater scale and complexity, which led him to seek new collaborators and new venues. Kern's growing reputation as a composer also meant that he was in demand for larger and more prestigious productions, and he could move to other theaters that were bigger and, again, could make more money. After the Princess Theater, Kern really again sought to increase the scale of his work by moving to much bigger theaters on Broadway, and he partnered with Florence Ziegfeld, who is known for creating the Ziegfeld Follies, which was a series of elaborate theatrical revues featuring a blend of music, dance, and comedy. The Ziegfeld Follies were known for their lavish sets, stunning costumes, and the use of beautiful chorus girls, known as Ziegfeld Girls. It was one of the biggest ongoing shows of the era. Kern partnered with Ziegfeld to create Sally in 1920, which was one of his most significant post-Princess Theater works. It was, again, a 1920s musical centered around the song Look for the Silver Lining, which was a major hit, and solidified Kern's work as a leading Broadway composer. Then there was Sunny in 1925. It was another Ziegfeld collaboration that was, again, incredibly successful and featured the popular song Who. Kern's ability to create memorable and comedically successful scores kept him in the forefront of the Broadway scene. After a few musicals of relative success with Florence Ziegfeld, Kern partnered with Oscar Hammerstein II to create Showboat in 1927. Now, this was his landmark musical. It had, again, music by Jerome Kern and a book and lyrics by Oscar Hammerstein II. Showboat is widely regarded as the first major musical to fully integrate songs into the narrative. While Kern's work at the Princess Theater was significant, Showboat had a level of success that completely eclipsed any prior work and was more mainstream than shows in a small theater could be. What that meant was that Showboat had the ability to really solidify the groundbreaking work that he did before. Now, Showboat didn't come out of nowhere. It was ultimately an adaptation of Edna Ferber's novel, also titled Showboat, which told a complex, multi-generational story set on a Mississippi River showboat and dealt with themes such as racial prejudice and enduring love. The thing that was key about this musical was, again, its tendency to tell stories and develop the characters more deeply through the songs. Songs like Old Man River, Can't Help Lovin' Dat Man, and Make Believe were absolutely more than just entertaining interludes. They actually advanced the plot and deepened the character development. For example, Old Man River really reflects the struggles and resilience of African American laborers, while Can't Help Lovin' Dat Man reveals character backgrounds and relationships. It's actually really clever in the way the song is used throughout the show at different times to highlight different key moments and almost becomes a shorthand for some really complicated relationships. Following the success of Showboat, Kern continued his partnership with Oscar Hammerstein II. Together, they created several more hit musicals, including Sweet Adeline in 1929, which was a romantic comedy set in the world of barbershop quartets. Then in 1932 came Music in the Air, a musical comedy set in Bavaria, known for the song Is You. One that some people may also be familiar with is Roberta from 1933. This features the classic song Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. Then in 1934 came something really interesting, in my opinion, as a theater nerd. In 1934, Kern and Hammerstein II did an adaptation of Three Sisters. Like, yes, Chekhov's Three Sisters. Like, a musical adaptation of Chekhov. That's fascinating. Who would do that? Kern and Hammerstein, apparently. He also collaborated with other lyricists. So apart from Hammerstein, Kern worked with other lyricists on successful Broadway productions. He worked with Ira Gershwin a bit. For instance, he did CoverGirl in 1944, which was a successful musical film starring Rita Hayworth. If you don't know who Rita Hayworth is, she's an interesting one to look up. Definitely at least read the Wikipedia. But then he also worked with somebody that I personally find amazing and really respect. He did some work with Dorothy Fields, who, again, considering the era, this was a female lyricist who had great success in the 30s, the 1930s. Phenomenal. So they worked together on The Cat and the Fiddle in 1931, and it produced the popular song She Didn't Say Yes. Kern again did venture into Hollywood as well, composing music for a few films. Notable contributions include Swing Time, where he composed music for this Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers film. It included songs like The Way You Look Tonight, which has been covered time and time again since the original film release, and at the time won an Academy Award for Best Original Song. Then in 1944, Kern also composed music for the Deanna Durbin musical Can't Help Singing, which marked his only original score for a Technicolor film. Jerome Kern passed away on November 11th, 1945, at the age of 60 in New York City. He died of a cerebral hemorrhage while walking in Central Park, leaving behind a rich legacy of music and theatrical innovation. Kern was one of the most groundbreaking composers within the Great American Songbook era. Although his work began with some extremely derogatory material, he did eventually move on to create social commentary on issues of race, love, and social justice. His work ultimately laid in motion a complete change in what musical theater became, culminating in both theater as we know it today and the entire subset of Disney movie musicals. I know I keep tying it back, right? Without Kern's dedication to musical innovation, the entire cultural landscape of American entertainment legit would not exist as we know it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications if you want to see more content like this, or continue to see the rest of the series on kind of the history that led to the creation of the Disney movie musical. Anyways, thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.